Welcome to the TCA's Year 7 lesson about the Black Death. You should have already completed a starter activity as part of the team's live introduction. Let's make a start on the lesson. Remember to pause the video where I ask you in order to complete the tasks. Let's do a quick recap. What was the Black Death? Test yourself on how much you can remember about the Black Death. Without looking at last lesson's notes, write down 5 things you know about the Black Death. Pause the video here to complete this task. Let's see if what you remembered was correct. The Black Death spread from rats to humans through fleas. The Black Death first broke out in Dorset, England in 1348 and quickly spread through the country until it faded away in the early 1350s. It started in Asia, or as the medieval people like to call it, the Far East, and spread throughout Europe. The population of Europe was significantly reduced from 80 million to 30 million. It affected all types of people in society, whether you were poor, rich, or even the king. Today we are going to look at what was the most significant effect of the Black Death. There are many different results from this plague. They can be grouped into sets called factors. We have got social, which is to do with the people. Political, that's to do with running the country. Economic, that revolves around money. And religious, anything to do with the church. These are our factors that we are going to be looking at today. On the next slide will be some cards. You will have to decide, does the card show a political, social, economic or religious factor of the Black Death? To do this, you'll be filling out this table. Copy the table into your books. Pause the video here to give yourself time to copy the table down. Here are the cards you will be sorting into the 4 factors. Let's do the first one together. About 33% of Wales and England's population died. It took 250 years for the population to recover. Does this show a social, political, economic or religious factor? Let's have a look. Again, here you can see that I have got the fact that we are trying to decide. About 33% of Wales and England's population died. It took 250 years for the population to recover. Below in our table we have the 4 factors. I would place this particular card in the social box because it's talking about population, so it relates to people. Pause the video here to complete your table, adding in the card we have just done together. Again, here are the cards you will be sorting into 4 factors. Now you do the second one and we will check it together in a moment. The second one is new religious groups were set up, e.g. the Lollards, who criticised the Catholic Church. Think about, does this show a social, political, economic or religious factor? Pause the video here while you attempt to sort this card into your table. Where did you put the second card? Remember, the second card is the new religious groups were set up. For example, the Lollards, who criticised the Catholic Church. Do you think this is social, political, economic or religious? I have put this in the religious box because it's talking about church. Therefore, it goes as a religious factor. Pause the video here to update your table. Now, you are going to work through the rest of the cards. We will check the answers later. Pause the video here to work through the cards. Remember, you are deciding whether they are a social, political, economic or religious factor. Here are the factors that the cards belong to. Check your answers are the same as shown here on the board. Everything shown in orange is a social factor. Everything shown in green is a political factor. Everything shown in yellow is an economic factor. And finally, in blue, we have a religious factor. So what was the most significant effect of the Black Death? The Black Death had a huge effect on medieval Britain. Estimates differ, but it's believed that the Black Death killed half the population of Europe. For example, in some places, such as the village of West Thickley in County Durham, it killed everybody. As we have seen in our activity, the Black Death had an impact on a variety of different factors. The social and political impact was that the poor people began to hate their poverty and their betters. This is what helped destroy the feudal system. The religious impact was that many people became angry and bitter and blamed the church. Some historians think that this helped with the growth of the new Lollard religion in the 15th century. It could also be argued that the Black Death had brought down the rich and poor alike. Having faced and survived the plague, people at the bottom of society were now more prepared to question their position. The economic implications were that there was a great shortage of workers, and when Parliament passed laws to stop wages rising, poor people became very angry. Some historians believe this is what helped cause the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, which will be the topic of our next lesson. Has the Black Death been a good or bad thing? How do you think these two men from the 14th century would answer that question? Write how you think they would respond in your books. How do you think a peasant would respond to the Black Death? And how do you think a lord would respond to the Black Death? Pause the video here so you have time to complete this task. I think a peasant would respond that the Black Death had been a good thing, as he would see that there are so many more jobs now that the plague has killed so many peasants. He would use this as an opportunity to earn more money. Whereas the lord, he would see this as a bad thing, because the plague killed so many of his peasants. If survivors start demanding more in wages, what will they demand next? They might even start challenging his rule. He also needs his knights to work together, or else they could start a civil war. See if these answers are similar to the one that you wrote in your book. Finally, what I would like you to do is write a paragraph deciding which was the most significant effect of the Black Death. Below is the structure of the paragraph and some sentence starters. For this, we are following a P structure. P stands for choose the factor which has the biggest impact. This is you making your point. You need to choose from the 4 factors that we have talked about this lesson. So do you think that social, political, economic, or religious had the biggest impact? You can see that in red is a sentence starter to help you. E is where you need to describe the effects of the Black Death on this category. So for example, if you chose to talk about the social impact, you need to talk about how this led to the peasants wanting more for themselves. Whereas if you talk about the economic impact, you can talk about the fact that there was a great shortage of workers. Again, you can see that in red, I have given you a sentence starter to help you. The last part of your paragraph needs to be where you explain how this factor affected people's lives and relationships. Again, I have provided you with a sentence starter in red. Pause the video here to give yourself enough time to complete the paragraph.